Yuck.
Well, the Cats are back. They win today. All is right with the world. It happened because all three of us on Threemon decided to predict them to win. Everything is fixed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it on Threemon. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. John Kurtz, Derek Young, Cole Manbeck, who went to the game today. So happy that he did because K-State wins 34-20. We're all here to talk about it. Raise a glass of Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon, folks. This is the first time this year. There you go. DY's got it covered. Our friends at Holiday Distillery bring this to you, but it's the first time this year where it really feels like good to do that. Yes, K-State did win another football game this year against North Dakota. We all know that felt like a loss. This is the first time where you can sit back and say, like, exhale a little bit. Okay. Look, I was lying to you. Thank you to Holiday, by the way. 360 vodka as well for your tailgates. I was lying. Everything is not fixed, but this was a nice step. Okay. This was a nice step. I will say off the top here that as much as we have been, I think rightfully negative and taken a lot of shots and been very frustrated and sometimes cynical and sarcastic and all these different things. That's been going on everywhere across the program and the fan base for the last 2 weeks. It had been 15 days since we had seen them play a game. Credit to the coaching staff, credit to the players for keeping it on the rails, right? Because we talked about the 4-game thing and you got guys that could be thinking about their future and red shirts and all that. You've got a season that is clearly not going to wind up accomplishing what everybody sought out to accomplish this year, and all the noise and all these different things. It would have been very easy to just pack it in and go lose to a 3-0 UCF team that did just beat the crap out of North Carolina and was playing motivated today after losing one of their head coaches who passed away earlier this week, or one of their position coaches who passed away earlier this week, right? So I want to say that first and foremost. We've got to give credit where it's due, and we'll get into some of the problems and things that are still there. But the good was energy and enthusiasm and just these guys continuing to be, more or less professionals about it, to come out and give you a better effort today, which did feel good. It was nice to watch that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too overzealous with it or over the top or trick myself or convince myself into thinking that a lot is fixed. I don't know or believe necessarily that it is, but there is a little bit of a breath of fresh air, so to speak, to see a team actually go for 60 minutes and look like it wants to be there, because can't even think of a little bit of a stretch or a little bit. I could think stretches and moments where the execution was bad and they were playing poorly, but for the first time this season, I don't think I ever felt like I was in the middle of stretches or moments of watching Kansas State football not care to be there. And I know that's a low bar, and it is. But to be honest, I felt relieved to watch Kansas State play 60 minutes and actually care to be there. I know that sounds simple, but that's truth of the matter.
Yeah, the energy. I was at the stadium, obviously. DY, you were in the box, and you could see the energy on the sidelines and the passion that they displayed from the get-go, really. And the turnover, the first one that Gunnar Maldonado picked off against UCF, the whole sideline erupted, and half the team spilled out onto the field. It was almost like a field storming. They got the sideline warning after that. The energy you could kind of see was contagious. There was another moment where I was specifically watching Dylan Edwards over on the sideline. He had the touchdown run taken off the board on a holding call in Andrew Lengang, and then Joe Jackson ends up getting the touchdown a couple of plays later. And I was kind of feeling disappointed for Dylan Edwards because I felt like he needed something positive, like a touchdown to happen at that point, and wanted him to stay on the field. So I watched Dylan Edwards after Joe Jackson scores, and Dylan Edwards is hyping up Joe Jackson on the sideline and really, excited for him, and saw Dylan Edwards and others pumping up the crowd throughout the game. And so, look, it was clearly a point of emphasis by the coaching staff. We'd heard that all week, and then you heard it from the players too, that this was something that they'd picked out as they weren't playing with fire. They weren't celebrating each other. They weren't playing with energy out there and acting like they loved the game of football. And so you at least saw that today. And, if it wasn't for a handful of just really bad mistakes defensively, it would have been a dominant game. And we can get into that.
Yeah, it felt like for a minute there that it was going to wind up being like a 24 to 28 point win, something like that. And it got closer than you would like it to for a minute there. But yeah, before we get to all that, let's try and keep it generally relatively positive. I think that is all fair. Like DY, I feel like you said it. That's such a good way to describe it, as a breath of fresh air. It was like you had not. It was honestly like kind of stressful, like watching the games before in a weird way. I mean, obviously they were losing, but it was stressful from like you're just like, what? These guys don't even care. Like, what? Why can't you? This game like met the baseline level for competency for like what you'd expect a college football team to look like. You know, especially one that has the tradition and resources of this one.
Yeah, the team we saw the first 4 games, quite honestly, was unrecognizable. Like even in the latter stages of Bill Snyder, in every stage of a Chris Kleiman team that maybe wasn't COVID at times, you at least felt like you were getting a tough, hard-nosed, physical team that cared to be there, that cared about the team, that wanted to play hard, and like you didn't feel like you were wasting your time covering a team that didn't want to be there, that didn't want to pour in a certain effort. Because quite frankly, and I obviously the fans are going to feel this way, but even as someone covering the team, like I don't want to even put if you go out and go 0-12, but you act like you want to be there, then it's actually going to be more aesthetically pleasing to watch than a team that even goes 4-8 and doesn't want to be there. Like you can't cover a team, you can't watch a team week in and week out that gives 0 Fs and enjoy it, regardless of who you are. So that's part of it. Like that team, the first 4 games was unrecognizable. Now at times against Iowa State, that was probably the closest thing to maybe where they were bought in and locked in still. I don't know. Definitely not the prior 3 games. So we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but to be honest, that's probably the big takeaway. Yes, they were celebrating each other, and maybe that kind of is what got the engine rolling, and maybe that's why Chris Kleiman emphasized it, because once you start to do that, then the other things do kind of come into place. But it's more than just celebrating each other. Like they played hard. Like you're going to make mistakes. If you go out and make mistakes while playing hard and playing fast, it's a little bit more, I guess, forgivable.
Well, you saw some intentional energy from the coaching staff today too. I mean, there was clearly Chris Kleiman coming out on the field repeatedly, hyping guys up. The assistant coaches as well were very active. And I noticed right before halftime, or actually at halftime, Chris Kleiman came out on the field and was dapping up BJ Payne and hyping him up as well. And so, and I will also just say, like, it would have been easy after the interception on the trick play, Lincoln Cure there, and kind of
so here we go again.
The groans were starting to murmur out of the crowd, guys. And then the turnover on downs, the ensuing drive, and you go into the second quarter of a game, you had 2 drives offensively that go into the UCF 35-yard line, and you come away with 0 points and you're tied up at 0. It felt like, my gosh, this team is just never going to figure it out. Like, it felt like they were playing okay, but they couldn't capitalize. They were still shooting themselves in the foot. They made mistakes, coaching mistakes, that trick play. I hated it. We joked when we knew that trick play had been put in that like it would be a disaster, and it proved to be a disaster. K-State, whenever they run trick plays, tends to be a disaster. So it's nice to see that they were able to respond to a negative situation like that first quarter when a couple of things didn't go their way, and that they still kept playing with that intensity and carried it over 60 minutes throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I think we were concerned and probably worried that once that adversity did strike, you didn't capitalize on those 2 drives that went into. I think we were probably a little scared that they were going to shut it off. But even at that point, like we weren't, even in our group chats, right? We weren't completely eviscerating them at that point like we typically would in the other games, because we at least knew they were working hard, playing hard at that point still.
Whoa. Let's keep our group chat out of this. All right. Don't tell people what we're saying in the in the group chat throughout the season?
I did. It was just a sideline warning, but I also did call like they were going to get flagged for excessive celebration at some point because of how much it was being emphasized.
But but honestly, I don't even care. Even if they would have gotten flagged for it, I would not have cared. That is how much we wanted and needed to see that sort of effort. And
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, didn't care. Happy to see that happen. All right, as far as like technical things, they achieved the baseline level of showing up like they care. They played with effort. They flew around. That's good.
Baseline.
We knocked that out. Glad that we're doing that in late September. Beyond that, things that make a difference. I'm going to make this the top storyline of the week, which is brought to you by our friends at Alenco. Go to alencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com to get hooked up for all your home improvement needs. To me, the biggest thing tangibly that made a difference is just having Dylan Edwards back. I mean, I think we all knew this. The difference, but seeing it was staggering today. The difference between him and the rest of the running back room, I mean, there is a massive gulf of difference between him and everybody else. 20 carries, 166 yards. He has a 75-yard touchdown run that for any other running back on the roster is going to be about an 11-yard carry. They have no chance to shoot past that defender, and that's the difference, man. The little split second of speed that Dylan Edwards has to accelerate past that guy and just be gone. But even it's not even that. He like runs harder. He breaks more tackles. He bounces off guys more. Dylan Edwards he's a pretty complete back, man. He's a good running back. And I will give at least the team that much. There have been a million issues, effort at the top of it, but not having Dylan Edwards has really hurt. And they may have won one or two of these other games had they just had him the rest of the year and not been hurt. I do believe that after watching the game today.
Yeah, I understated and undervalued the impact that a Dylan Edwards can have. I guess, like John said, it was staggering today. And some people are going to be like, well, UCF sucks. Hey, they probably do. But guess what? The other running backs ran against that same UCF defense and ran behind that same Kansas State offensive line today. And you know what they did? They did absolute jack squat. Dylan Edwards, as John said, ran for 166 yards. And before his last two carries, I think was hovering around 10 yards per carry. He finished with a little over 8, had the long touchdown course of 75 yards. But everyone's like, well, he did it against UCF. Yes, he did. And you know what Joe Jackson did against UCF and behind the same Kansas State offensive line? 5 carries, 6 yards. So don't give me the bull crap. Don't give me the bull crap that it was opponent driven. It was not, because Joe Jackson did what he's been doing the last 3 games again today against UCF. And the other running backs probably would have done the same if they got a touch, which we don't know which one's going to get a touch on any game. So to me, it's not about the opponent. And we probably were, we weren't too hard on the Kansas State offensive line. They still got some, I'm not going to pretend that they were fixed, but when they get a block for Dylan Edwards, their numbers look a lot better all of a sudden too. And the only thing that changed wasn't the Kansas State offense. Maybe they tweaked some things schematically that helped. It wasn't the Kansas State offensive line. It was the running back. That's the only thing that changed.
Well, let's also just make clear, and I know they hadn't really played anybody. North Carolina's not good, but UCF had only given up 26 points in 3 games. They were top 15 in the country in points per drive allowed, and they'd given up 3.37 yards per carry, which was top 40 in the country. So it's not like they were a defense that was getting gashed. And I know it was against Jacksonville State. Can't remember the other team. And then it was North Carolina last week that they beat 34-9. But obviously Dylan Edwards makes a world of difference, guys. I mean, Kansas State had 17 runs of 10 yards or more on the season going into today's game. It was one of the worst in the Big 12 after being the most explosive rushing team in the entire conference and top 5 in the country last year in terms of rushes of 20-plus yards, etc. 17 on the season of 10 or more. Today they have 12. Avery Johnson has 4 of them, and then Dylan Edwards has 7, guys. What makes that really staggering is that K-State's other running backs on the entirety of the roster on 62 carries combined this season have combined for 10 rushes of 10 yards or more. Dylan Edwards had 7 today in 1 game. Dylan Edwards has 24 carries on the season now. 8 of them have went for 20 or 10 or more yards. Okay, so that's 33%. K-State's other running backs, 16% of their total carries have went for 10 or more yards. So far more explosive via the running game today, and as a result, they have their best rushing performance of the entire season, and it just made a world of difference for Kansas State on the offensive end of the football. I mean, the other running backs guys have combined for 62 carries for 248 yards on the season. And Dylan Edwards had 166 yards today. Joe Jackson was K-State's leading rusher in the running back room, leading rusher on the roster, actually, guys, with 136 yards on the season. Dylan Edwards had 166 today. So, yeah, I mean, he's clearly a huge playmaker. It's why when you prefaced the question and brought it up a couple weeks ago, John, where would they be if Dylan Edwards was healthy and they had him the whole time? This was not intended to be an excuse for their struggles because they should have dominated other teams with or without Dylan Edwards. But had they had him, they lost every game by one score, okay? So there's a very strong likelihood that he makes that home run type play or changes things in a pinch that gets you at least a couple more wins, and you're probably sitting 4-1 at worst if Dylan Edwards is healthy and fully himself. Keep in mind, the last two games that Dylan Edwards has played in full, where he's really himself, was against Rutgers for 196 yards on the ground, and this game today, 166. A healthy Dylan Edwards changes this offense.
Someone said, didn't Derek say that Joe Jackson would have more rushing yards than Dylan Edwards this year? Absolutely did. I'm going to get things wrong. I clearly got that wrong. There is a sizable gap between Dylan Edwards and any other guy that they're giving the ball to in the backfield. Davon Rice, to me, is probably my second favorite, but there's still a wide gap there as well. What I will say is, like, this is to boost up Dylan Edwards and say that they were missing a lot when they didn't have him. It's also an indictment on the rest of the running back room.
Oh, I mean, big time. Yeah. Look, I was kind of with Derek on that, where I was like, we were buying into the hype that we'd heard about Joe Jackson. I mean, they
look good against Rutgers too. Yeah.
That is fair, but they definitely sold him as being like a legit dude, and he's just not. So I don't know. You never know. Guys playing with injuries that we're not hearing about. I don't. But he clearly looks like a different back this year in not a very good way. He's not it. So yeah, the running back room's got to get way better, and hope and pray that Dylan Edwards stays healthy the rest of the year.
Yeah, if he gets hurt again, you're going to probably lose every game.
And I think that's the most carries that Dylan's had in his career.
It was a career high 20 carries. I will say, just like Connor Riley last year, and it's not to throw a shade, but Matt Wells apparently doesn't know how to get him involved in the passing game as well. I think he could be a weapon there, but like, he is yet to really become a pass catching weapon at Kansas State at any point in his career. I would put that maybe on the coaches more than anything. And I'll also say Dylan Edwards is not some one trick pony either. Like, he wasn't just like, got to get outside and outrun everybody. No, he was running between the tackles today, and he was running through tacklers today.
Yeah. He was running physically. He was running through defenders. And he's done that in his career. His broken tackle rate was the second highest in the Big 12 in terms of yards after contact in the Big 12 last year, behind only DJ Giddens. So, he's a guy that is a physical runner. He's not just a speed guy. So, by all means, and the other thing that makes it more impressive of what he did today, guys, is like, you looked out there and you saw the receivers on the field. Like, UCF wasn't scared of K-State what they could bring in the passing game in this game.
Oh,
they didn't have Jace Brown or JB Bradley, obviously. So you've got Jerron Tibbs out there and really like walk-ons. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Jace Brown gave it a go today. A couple snaps, decided something didn't feel right, didn't go. Jerron Bradley didn't go. Adonis Moise was the next guy up. He got hurt in the first half, did not go the rest of the game either. Found that out during the Chris Klieman press conference. So we're talking about three of your top 4 or 5 wide receivers all being out right now, which is a bit of a problem, because what did I say all off season? That I didn't feel like they had any depth at receiver. And this is going to sound like shade, and maybe it is. And I mean no disrespect to these guys personally, but when you have to throw out Sterling Lockett and Isaac Koch, I think that probably reinforces my point all off season.
Yeah, did we get clarification on what's going on with Jace Brown in the presser?
He tried to go. He has some kind of injury. They'll never give specifics on injuries, but he went for the first few snaps and didn't feel right.
Yeah, so interesting. Are we going to get Kyle Whittingham here this week about the injury report that he didn't show up on the
That's what I was saying. Him not being on the availability report is kind of shady.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the exact same that happened with Devin Dampier, except Dampier did make it through the rest of the game. So you have like more of an excuse if you're if you're kind of with him
Say
there.
like probable or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
and to
a
be
great
clear,
look.
and to be clear, I mean, for people that were asking, because some people had tweeted at me that I just saw, Jace Brown did play in the game. He was in for a couple of snaps. So, like, he's not – this isn't a situation
he can't
where, like,
redshirt.
Jace Brown's looking to redshirt. He's no –
that was his
not
fifth
redshirting.
game. That was his fifth game. Yeah, that counts.
Well, Tom Terrible says turf toe. That's not typically one that you want to see if that's what it is. All right. Well, hey, look, Chiefs finally won a game. K-State's finally won a game. Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Just a short drive from Kansas City. Experience the history, the heritage, and the bourbon at Holiday Distillery. Tour Missouri's oldest distillery, where real Missouri bourbon is made the old-fashioned way. Walk the grounds, taste the tradition, and take home a bottle of something special. Make the trip, sip the story. Holiday Distillery, Weston, Missouri. Book your tour at holidaydistillery.com.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
Elsewhere, offensively, look, I'm seeing some of the comments in here. I've already seen it a couple of times about offensive play calling, Matt Wells, all that. I mean, look, guys, it still leaves something to be desired for sure. Like the offense is not, I mean, it's by no means fixed. Again, yes, they were really handicapped when it comes to the receiving core, which makes a big difference. You know, I mean, we've seen what kind of playmaker and just alpha on the offense Jace Brown is. JB Bradley on it was playing really well too, and it got hurt, you know, when he had the touchdown catch, which is a bummer. If they get those guys back, if you could ever see this offense fully put together, I mean, maybe it will look pretty good. But a lot of the same issues were still there. I mean, you had drops. Garrett Oakley dropped a couple of passes. There still seems to be a lack of chemistry on some of the RPO type of stuff that they have, and I think that led to some of the drops. The play calling leaves something to be desired. Let's start with Avery. Okay, Avery's 18 of 25, 168 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He ran 12 times for 75 yards. I am going to say I was a little appreciative of, I felt like he ran the ball a little bit harder today. There are still moments where I wish he would just identify, hey, I need to take off and run quicker instead of, you know, he backpedaled about 15 yards, his trademark backpedal 15 yards on a pass attempt that never works out very well, sometimes ends in a safety. We're still seeing some of that stuff. But he also, at one point on a first down that he didn't even get on a long third down, really lowered his head and actually took a pretty good shot that he didn't necessarily have to. So it seemed like we're talking about steps, right? Not everything was going to be fixed overnight. I do think that was a step in the right direction of being a little more aggressive, trying to run the ball a bit more. And, you know, Avery's game was definitely better than what we saw at Arizona.
Yeah. To be honest, if I'm going to have just a general overview and takeaway of Avery Johnson's day, I thought he played pretty well. And he has 18 completions, 7 incompletions. I think 3 or 4 of those incompletions are very narrow misses, like John talked about some of the RPO game where the guy sits and then he starts to take off, and that's when he throw almost chemistry driven incompletion. So I'd like for those guys to be on the same page a little bit more right now. Those were to Oakley and Tibbs, two guys where I think you should be on more of a same page with right now. But obviously they didn't really use a lot of RPO in the first 4 games until today, which I think maybe is a good adjustment, a good tweak to invoke a little bit more of that scheme into it. Avery is really good at those throws, to be quite honest. So maybe the lack of chemistry has to do with the lack of really doing that. They really only like to do that when Dylan's in the game. So teams are probably going to start picking up on that as well, which is why we didn't get a lot of RPO, I think, in the first 4 games. So that is something I like. That they found some, for a little bit of moments there, they had some good read game going on between Avery and Dylan too, and Avery was making the right decisions. I thought the stretch plays in the outside zone with Dylan Edwards that he started to lean on a little bit really had some momentum. But I think my biggest gripe with Matt Wells, maybe as a play caller, and why sometimes he makes me want to pull my hair out, is like he doesn't really stay disciplined into what's working. They were marching down the field, finally had the best run game that they've had all year, and then it goes to a trick play with Lincoln Kerr and they throw an interception. Like there's a moment to maybe go to that play. That wasn't it, because you were just marching right down the field running with Avery and Dylan. I like that he got Avery outside the pocket a lot more today. I think Avery is a lot more comfortable. He only has to read half the field when that happens, right? And Avery can stress defenses because he did take off more today, he had double-digit carries for the first time this season. So then UCF had to start to honor that. They had to start to be threatened by that. It stressed them. And then sometimes when he did start to take off, he was able to throw it instead, and you just had more of the throw game open up for him because UCF, in their minds, are like, he may run, because he forced them to think that way for the first time, whether that was the way Matt Wells was calling the game. And it was, because he got Avery outside the pocket a little bit more. But Avery was more willing to run in scramble situations, so that helped. I don't like some of the play designs at time. There was the time where he's rolling Avery left, and Avery does throw better on the left, so I get that, running to his left better than his right, which is a little unorthodox in general. But he had Adonis Moise, before he got hurt, motion towards that direction. So you're taking the defensive eyes right towards where you're rolling Avery to, so it was an easy cover. They ran those same routes later in the game without a guy motioning across the formation. Instead, it was the faked it to Dylan, or a fake action to Dylan, who was going the opposite direction. So the defense does go that way. So that left side of the field was open. So that play design made more sense doing it that way. So there's things like that to me that make sense. Also, and this is offense and defense, like they need to pay attention to the personnel on the field in certain situations. Like if you just had a 5-6 minute drive on offense, when you come back on defense, Austin Romaine doesn't need to be on the bench. Like, what are we doing? Like, you just had 5 or 6 minutes, like, resting. He doesn't need rest. I understand trying to dial back certain guys' snap counts and keeping a close eye on that. Like, maybe 50, 60 is the target rate for him. I don't know. But he doesn't need to be on the bench after sitting for 5 or 6 minutes. And then why that I bring that up is when you get a pivotal third down in an opponent territory, I don't need Sterling Lockett, Joe Jackson, and Isaac Koch to be on the field and not Dylan Edwards. Like, need to be cognizant of the situation and the personnel on the field.
Well, one critique I would have is that once again, in a 3rd and long situation inside the opponent's 40, Matt Wells went to what was so incredibly predictable, where he handed it off, I want to say, to Joe Jackson to get into a 4th and 6.
Yeah.
And they've done this so many times where on a 3rd and long, guys, they run like a 4-yard out route, or they're going to run the ball and they get hardly anything. And then they're in a 4th and 5, 4th and 7 that they're having to go for it. And it just doesn't work. And it was obvious that in that instance, they were going to run the ball, because I looked out on the field and it was Bryce Nornberg, Sterling Lockett, and Isaac Koch at receiver. Well, you think the defense knows you're going to run the ball there in that situation. In all likelihood, they picked up 2 yards, and then they had a 4th and 6, and then they got a turnover on downs. So yeah, we could nitpick Matt Wells' play calling. There's a lot to be desired. I would also say the Lincoln Kerr double pass, like That's Lincoln Cure's first touch of his college football career. Of course, a kid like that, eager to make a play, is going to try to force it in there. I mean, that's why I don't run that play through Lincoln Cure until he's been able to get a little bit more experience. Like, guys always try to force that play in on trick plays. So and there's just no need to go to it. So, getting back to Avery, obviously, look, the big thing about him running the football hasn't been just necessarily about picking up big chunk play and yards, but it's to what DY said. It's about keeping defenses honest. And if you run the ball a few times in scramble situations, the linebacker has to come up, or that corner has to come up off his guy on occasion and make a decision. Is he going to do that? And then he can dump it to the receiver if that corner or that defender comes up to get Avery Johnson, because that doubt is in their mind. Avery Johnson hadn't put that doubt into defense's mind so far this year until today. He had 25 carries for 62 yards on the season, 2.5 yards per carry, only 6 attempts a game on the ground coming into today. And today he has 12 carries for 75 yards and was around 80 yards before he lost a little bit. So it was clear from the onset he was going to run the ball more. They went to a 0 look on the very first drive of the game, and Avery went right up the middle. And I don't know if it was a QB draw. I think it was just a scramble play where Avery just burst right up the middle, made a quick decision, and he got 25 yards. And he lowered his shoulder at the end of that. And I'm like, all right, so Avery Johnson is going to definitely run the ball more today. I would still say that there were times today where he left a clean pocket, or he could have scrambled up the middle and he went to the outside where the defensive end had outside leverage, and that can result in holds and also, him just retreating like DY had said. So there are critiques there. But otherwise, I thought Johnson played a nice game. He ran the ball well, 18 to 25 passing. A lot of that first drive of the second half, that was one of Avery Johnson's best drives of the season, guys. I mean, the pass to Tibbs on the run over that secondary defender over the head of him to get him right on the boundary out of bounds for about a 15-yard gain, followed by the tight end wheel route where he just dropped it right in the bucket to Garrett Oakley for a 30-plus yard gain to get him to the 2, and then they go to the shovel pass. That was a really sharp series. They were really sharp in the third quarter offensively, and then they had their struggles again in the fourth quarter.
I thought the shovel pass, to be honest, was kind of being too cute. Like in that situation, I didn't really love that call. Obviously it worked. No one's going to think about it after the fact. I didn't love that call. I did love the throwback to Will Ancio on the touchdown. I thought that was a brilliant call, brilliant play design too. So, I'm not just going to criticize. I'll say some good things that happened as well. I know he's an athlete.
I was going to say, I've texted you guys. Why don't they run a roll out Avery right, throwback, tight end left multiple times this year? And look, it finally worked. Now, my one critique of that would be I'd like to see that play ran out near midfield or where it could be in a bigger explosive, because it was 1st and goal at the 3 and you went to it. I would like to see it because that's a play that could be a huge chunk play for you. But it worked. It was beautiful.
I don't disagree, but they've struggled so much in the red zone and in short yardage that if you have to pull that out, go for it. Because they weren't going to probably punch that in any other way. They were having struggles down there still in short yardage and in the red zone, just punching, the ball in. So your rationale is sound, but I don't know if it applies to this team in particular, because they just need something. They needed answers in third down and in short yards like that. Maybe that's one of them. I'll throw this out there. I'm getting to the point that maybe we're being too stubborn with Garrett Oakley. Like, guys dropping too many balls right now. Like, I think we need to reconsider shuffling in more guys at tight end if Garrett Oakley is going to continue to make too many negative plays.
Well, here's a thought I had about the offense too. A couple of thoughts. One, you are so spot on, Cole, to point out the Lincoln Cure. First of all, you're correct. You're giving it to a guy who's going to be overzealous and want to bomb that thing in there. But second of all, you line up on whoever said it in our group text. You line up under center and then you throw it backwards to a guy who does not have a catch yet. That's a true freshman. It is basically a giant. Look at this neon sign behind me. It's like a flashing neon sign that says, "Hey, trick play coming." That was fooling absolutely nobody. Terrible feel for when it happened. Yeah, all of that.
They were moving the ball.
The other thing that is I'm going to gauge the opinion here because we probably should talk for at least a little bit about the fact that they did use Blake Barnett. He had 5 carries for 23 yards. They had a package for him. Correct me if I'm wrong. To my recollection, at least most, if not all of those snaps, Avery Johnson was also on the field at the same time.
All of them.
The point of running the quarterback is to get an extra blocker. If you have Avery Johnson on the field at the same time, I don't know. I watched Kansas use 3 quarterbacks today successfully. Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall both had some nice carries when it's just that, like, I don't get doing that and leaving the other quarterback in the game. I don't think that's, we have enough problems getting Avery Johnson to like run the ball himself. Now you think teams are going to be like really afraid of him, like toss it to him or like read option to Avery Johnson or something. I just get an extra blocker out there if you're going to use Blake Barnett and just go use that as the package.
I agree. The idea of the QB run game is the extra blocker or getting the numbers in your advantage. He ran tough and was effective. I bet the success rate is fairly high on those plays that they used him. But like, I guess they say if you have the threat of both running, like, do you hold some guys in their stance a little bit more? Maybe if there's motion of some sort, that would be, I'm just trying to come up with some logic here, but yeah, I'm with you. I also, like, if you're going to run Avery more, like, because obviously there was an emphasis today to get Avery more too. Now, there wasn't a ton of design QB, and I'm okay with that. But like, I'm trying to think what made them think, okay, let's get a Blake Barnett package with Avery on the field. Like, what's the justification? Like, why would you do that instead of just do it with Avery? Or are they admitting to themselves that Avery is not a tough enough runner?
Well, I mean, I think Blake Barnett brings a little bit of juice. I mean, he's a bulldog mentality in terms of how he runs the ball and brings a different level of physicality to the running game. But I totally understand John's point on getting that extra blocker in there. The only thing I could think that I was thinking that they were setting up, John, was some sort of trick play at some point where Blake Barnett takes it, throws back across the field to Avery, or Avery leaks out downfield on a backside. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. So yeah, I don't fully understand, what they were looking to do there.
And it wasn't QB power anyway, so I guess the point wasn't to really get it.
It was there were a couple that were direct snaps to Blake Barnett, and then there were a couple where Blake Barnett actually lost.
But there was, I don't think there was a puller, and I have to go back and look. I don't think there was a puller. Like, and you're not getting an extra blocker if you're not running QB power anyway. They do like more read, and they did a read with Blake and Avery, to be honest. So it wasn't even QB power. It was like they were doing like read option like you would with Avery and Dillon, but they did with Blake and Avery.
Which, like, I mean, I guess that's fine. Again, I would just go back to, if Avery gets the ball, he's going to head straight for the edge. He's not going to, you think Avery's going to be the guy that's going to take it through a crease, between the tackles?
I'm with you. Like, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it a little bit too.
My other frustration with the Blake Barnett thing is they got down to like the half-yard line at one point, and I'm like, okay, if you're breaking the seal on running Blake Barnett, QB sneak the guy. I mean, he's a big dude. QB sneak the guy. Use that. Just take a free touchdown. It worked. Joe Jackson got a touchdown. But when they were at the half-yard line and they ran back into shotgun, with the way this offense has been in short yardage, I was about to throw my TV out my window. Like, guys, just get under center and push the big 6'2", 220-pound quarterback, whatever Blake Barnett is. Just push him across the goal line. Use the tush push stuff. Like, I saw that today. Who did that today? Someone else did that today.
I don't know. Cole touched on this too, and I brought it up as the game was going on, but Jimmy, KSU fan, you were having this conversation because we both thought it out loud too. And I know he had a touchdown called back. Dillon did, because Andrew Linegang for some reason didn't let go of his guy, even though Dillon had it was a stupid holding call. He didn't have to do it. Dillon had his guy beat to the edge, of course, and that touchdown got called back. But like, to me, it didn't feel right with the personnel packages that they were throwing out at the 1 yard line after Dillon got him all the way down there.
Yeah, well, you can certainly
obviously Dillon didn't care. He was like, Cole said, he was cheering on Joe Jackson getting that touchdown. But like, Joe Jackson had 5 carries, 6 yards and got a touchdown. And we almost, without Dillon's big play, he doesn't score a touchdown.
It was TCU that I was thinking of last night, by the way, that did the tush push thing. Hoover had one of those. All right, we have not talked much about the defense. And hey, Cole, special team streak is broken, my friend. We gotta talk about the streak, breaking the streak. Coming up next.
What's up, everybody? Benny Heiss with KCSN, betting analyst for Kansas City Sports Network. And Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State. And guess what? You can get started today because new Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets once DraftKings Sportsbook launches on December 1st. You can download it now, place a $5 bet once they are live. Guys, DK Sportsbook brings everything you need to really elevate your game day. You got live in-game betting, super fast payouts, endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when they are live in Missouri, you're going to be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It is safe, secure, fast money withdrawals. That's the place you want to play. So here's what you do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code KCSN to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live on December 1st. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they're issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms are available at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
Okay, Cole. So first time all year, right? The special teams didn't turn it over. Had it been 3 games or 4 games?
Four if you count
Okay.
the squib kick against Army.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So that's dead, man. That feels good. Special teams was great today. The punting game, great. Luis Rodriguez, good.
You know who's the most improved player right now? Probably Simon McClanahan. The last 3 games, he's punting his butt off. Not that I know that's boring, but it's true.
He averaged 51 yards a punt today on 4 punts.
He averaged 50 against Arizona too.
Yeah. Look, credit where it's due, man. Special teams, not a problem at all today. Totally fine with that.
I think because the guy needed some sunglasses, but Sterling Lockett should have grabbed a couple of those punts.
At least one that was that. Yeah. The second one, he kind of. Yeah.
But Cole's there, but it did feel like, because it was always on the same side of the field. It felt like it was a sun in his eyes situation.
Yeah, I think so. There was one where he just backed off at the last minute. Looked like he either left or something happened. So, but no, the special teams was really solid. I mean, Luis Rodriguez once again proves to be really good. It's just been nails.
Yeah.
The sun is in Cole's eyes right now. So
did you guys think the field goal that UCF made, the longer one, not the last one, but the longer one on the other side of the field? I thought Cheedy almost blocked that one. Was I wrong in that too?
Yeah,
he did. TV replay. So he hopped the line. TV replay.
So it probably should have been a penalty technically.
I've been wondering if they're still calling that. I see that happen all the time now, and I don't ever see it called. So I don't know if there was a rule change there or something. I literally wondered that today. It was not as close as you might think, I thought, on the TV broadcast replay.
Okay. And I know we're going to talk about defense today, but that reminded me, I thought Chidi Obiizor and Malcolm Alcorn Crowder were terrific on the defensive line. Obviously, the explosives were the issue, because if we go and look at the success rate for UCS offense, that it's piss poor. But they had like 3 or 4 plays that just busted.
It was absolutely a big play game. That is definitely the issue. Consistent effort, energy, guys flying around was immensely better. I mean, not even close to anything else that we've seen this season, frankly, from the team. And so I like that. I'm appreciative of that. In the first half, really almost a perfect kind of game from the defense. But in the second half, it started feeling like, okay, like run fits are a problem. Bad angles are a problem. Some of the same things that we had seen the issues in giving up big plays earlier this year. So you have to still wonder about the long-term prognosis of that with this defense and how, if that is a fixable thing this year, or if that is just something that you're going to have to continue to live with. Because UCF does have they have some athleticism at their skill positions, but you're definitely going to see better skill players. You're certainly going to see better quarterbacks. And that's the other thing I kept thinking, getting Jakari Brown for a good portion of the game was definitely a bonus. Taven Jackson still, though, is not that he's not a great quarterback. He can make some plays. I think he's all right, but he's not a great quarterback. And so if you're playing a good, experienced veteran quarterback, I think there are probably other things to take more advantage of there. And you're gonna, like Sawyer Robertson, for instance, right? I think would be able to torch you a lot more than what happened with Taven Jackson and Jakari today.
Don't disagree. But again, I thought they were really fast and really physical, especially in the first half. Second half, UCF made the adjustment, and it just felt like K-State was trying to figure it out. Like I said, I bet if you go look at the success rate of the UCF offense, even in the second half, I bet it's piss poor. Their production and their scoring and the way that they started to climb back at least a little bit was based on just leaking out a couple of big plays, because they were only getting one or 2 yards a pop, other than the big ones they have. One of the big ones they had, the run fit wasn't bad. The scheme wasn't bad. The play call wasn't bad. Gunnar Maldonado was there. He's got to make the tackle. To be honest, I thought Gunnar Maldonado probably screwed up two of the bigger plays, if I'm being quite honest. I thought he played faster today, but I thought he just missed one tackle, missed one pass. But he felt healthier today. It just felt like he didn't execute a couple of the big plays in the second half.
I can give you guys the numbers on that. Look, UCF finished with 402 yards. 292 of those 402 came on 6 plays.
Yeah. So their success rate's going to be dog shit when they show.
Wait. 292 on 6 plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had an 82-yard touchdown pass, which, by the way, Wesley Fair cannot gamble there. He's the last man standing on that play. I get he was close to breaking up the pass, but he's got to contest that better and not risk the big play.
You're right. But another problem is Wesley Fair is not fast or athletic enough to get there.
And I think it was a coverage bust in general, I believe, because that guy came free off the line right away and was open from the snap, and it can't just be Wesley Fair one-on-one with him in that situation, or that's a schematics. That's a scheme issue if that's the case, the way it's designed.
Or just didn't get lined up.
Yeah. So 82-yard pass, 45-yard run, 37-yard pass, 54-yard run, 44-yard run, 30-yard pass by UCF. So 73% of their offensive yards today came on 6 plays. They ran 59 plays for 402 yards, 53 of those plays for 292. Otherwise, guys, 53 of their remaining plays went for 110 yards, 2.1 yards per play. So because of those explosive, UCF actually finished with 6.8 yards per play to K-State's 6.2 yards per play. And K-State had some explosives today, but not to the extent that UCF did. And the problem, like, John, when you mentioned, can they fix it? First of all, the concern is Army's one thing, all right? They're going to run for over 200 yards against most people because they're going to run it 60 times a game. But it's the third straight game now you've allowed a team to go over 200 yards. And last year, your run defense was under 3.8 yards per carry and top 35 in the country, and the best that it had been in the Chris Kleiman era. And they go to this 4-down look, and now their run for it fits are awful. And it's the third straight game an opponent has went for over 200 yards on the ground. Arizona ran for 234 and 5.2 yards per carry. UCF goes over 200 yards today and averages 6.1 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. And so the run defense has been lacking. They did fly around, but the giving up the explosives is a concern. And when you say, are they going to fix it? Look, this is the third straight year. I don't know where they rank right now in explosives overall, but the last 2 seasons under Joe Klanderman, guys, they've been around 125th to 130th in the country out of 134 to 136 FBS teams, and explosives allowed. It's just been a consistent problem for Joe Klanderman's defense of giving up the big play, and it was on display again today. So, look, you can play a great game defensively, but if you have 5 or 6 of those explosives, it can make the score a lot different, the outcome of the game a lot different, obviously. And so they got to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't disagree. Can I say one thing that I thought they got better at today, other than the things that we've already pointed out? I thought the defense was better in short yardage.
They were. They got to stop.
Yeah, they got
to stop
off the field. Yeah.
I thought Austin Romaine played,
and 3 turnovers for us. What did they have on the year? 4.
Yeah, and Quay Moss continues. We talked about the defense not playing fast and physical for 4 games, whatever it may be, the lethargy of this team, whatever it may be. Quay Moss brings it every game. He is fun to watch. Now, he still makes gaffes, makes flaws, makes problems, makes errors, all that stuff. He's fun to watch because he plays hard no matter what. And the ball finds him because he plays hard. He's got 2 interceptions now in the last 2 games. So, incredible catch on his interception. He's fun to watch. Austin Romaine played a great game, I will say. Malcolm Crowder played a great game. And Chidi Obiaizer played a great game. Those 4 leap off the page to me. Zayshawn Rich had a couple really good things and a couple really bad things. Donovan McIntosh, one of the rushing explosives by UCF, he was the one guy. Sometimes a team's going to block it up well, right? Like your guys aren't going to get off blocks. Sometimes that happens. But you're always going to have one or 2 guys that are unblocked, and they have to make the play on. I don't know if it was the 50 or 60-yard touchdown run of whatever that was in the second half. Donovan McIntosh was the one guy not blocked. He didn't even get within 5 yards of the ball carrier. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, there's a reason why he's been benched at times this year. I know I'm calling out guys individually a little bit more than I typically do, but like you're 2 and 3. You got to figure out the flaws in the ointment. And Donovan McIntosh, boy, you got to be better, man.
I felt like they sat BJ Payne a little bit more too. There were times when it was Logan Bartley back there,
and I've crushed him. I thought he was one of the worst players on the defense the first 4 games. I'd have to go back and look at the tape today. The only thing that really sticks out to me is like catch the damn ball. He had an interception right to him.
Dropped as easy of an interception as you could have, and
yep.
Am
I wrong? You guys like Quay Moss too? I like Quay Moss a lot.
Yeah, Quay Moss plays with physicality and flies around with an energy that is contagious. That's what you like about him. He makes some mistakes sometimes, but he has that dog mentality that this defense needs more of. So, yeah, I thought that defense outside of those big plays was pretty solid. Though, to John's point, it was clear Taven Jackson was banged up in that first half injury. Like, he didn't look right in the second half. And K-State, part of that's because K-State hit him a lot, but he missed some open guys and was late on some throws that will get exposed against better quarterbacks and better teams. So that's something to be cognizant of.
Totally agree. And I'm picking up positives and negatives, everything that come to mind. Ryan Davis, I'm waiting for everything that, like, why did people talk about Ryan Davis? I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah, haven't seen him flash much. Have not seen him flash much. Any final thoughts? We'll go reverse order here. Final thoughts. Baylor, how you feeling about Baylor?
Well, first of all, John, everything is like, this is one of the best wins in college football. Scott Frost had won 16 straight games as the UCF head coach.
That's right.
13-0 at the end of the 2017 season or whatever year it was, 3-0 to start this year. The streak is dead. What an incredible moment. Okay. Next, how do I feel about Baylor? Not good. Baylor, I have some serious concern. What?
Well, I'm sorry. First of all, your connection's breaking up a little bit here, so that's causing some issues. But would it help you at all if I told you that Oklahoma State has been kind of hanging with Baylor? I guess not anymore. They were hanging with Baylor. They hung with Baylor for a half.
I'm sorry, I've arrived back in Olathe, John. We're almost home, so we don't really have very good cell service here. You make your jokes about that. So
I'll jump in. Baylor has a chance to put up 40. Like if they very well could. Baylor sometimes plays softer than Kansas State. they're just as finesse, even maybe more finesse. And if Kansas State plays with the same fire, energy, and competitive spirit, that game is not impossible to win. I don't know that I would pick it. I probably wouldn't. But if they just play with their hair on fire, fast and physical, let the chips fall where they may, there's probably going to be mistakes and errors. I get it. They got a shot because that Baylor will probably score on them, but Baylor might. I mean, Baylor. That's a team that doesn't have a lot of grit and toughness to them. Like the games that worry me the most are the ones that can just be overpowering, tougher than you, grittier than you, like the Utahs of the world, Texas Techs of the world at this point, maybe even KU, because I mean they lost today at Cincinnati, but that's a tough team. But Baylor is actually, their DNA is probably a little bit more vulnerable to a team like K-State.
I would just say I don't see them having a great shot to win that game if Jace Brown and JB Bradley are both out. So it'll be important to get updates on that.
The fact that Jace Gate tried to give it a go today, won a couple of snaps, makes me think maybe he's got a shot. Again, that's weird that he wasn't on the availability report all week if something was going on there. So some gamesmanship. So is the availability report just a mockery that has no bearing? Maybe. Utah approached it the same way the week prior with Devin Dampier, as John said. Bradley, this is the first game where he might have a chance to come back too. I know that.
I just think it's going to be important. Like Baylor's run defense isn't very good, but like if they know, like K-State's offensive line still isn't great by any means, right? But if they know that you have no vertical threat to stretch the field in the passing game, you just got
I totally agree. Baylor is worse defense than KU though.
Cole? Can you finish your point? What was the point you were making, Cole?
I don't think with JB Bradley and Jace Brown out, like I don't like you can threaten a defense enough and to keep up with an offense like Baylor, right? Like Baylor's going to probably score on Kansas State. I don't see Kansas State being able to score enough with just Dylan Edwards, Avery Johnson. Like you don't have enough vertical threat. Jerron Tibbs is really your only receiver that teams have to really hone in on. It's going to have to be a tight ends type game. You have to get more from your tight ends. Your offensive line's going to have to play great. You don't have much margin for error if you don't have a Jace Brown and JB Bradley. So if you can get at least one of those guys on the field and be productive and play close to 100% health, that changes things. If you have all three, to your point earlier in the show, with Dylan Edwards on the field, that would be nice to see and see what this offense actually could be with everybody at full strength. I'm not sure we're going to get that against Baylor. I do think with the 11 a.m. kick, you have a shot, to be competitive in that game, be a little bit of a stale atmosphere in all likelihood, chance to go in and try and steal one. And if you do it, you're 2-1 in the Big 12 and you're coming back home. I mean, you can start to feel a little bit positive again and get some good juices going, feeling positive mojo. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out more injury updates as the next few days go on.
To your point, a lot of what was happening in this game is even when you're just carrying out like jet action fakes, it was having to be like Sterling Lockett a lot in the game, which like, again, I don't want to like attack dudes, but that's not someone who's scaring a defense, if he's the guy running on jet action. Whereas if it's Jace Brown, who, has a 75-yard touchdown on tape this year, that's a little bit different.
I totally agree. Baylor defense pretty ugly. It is worse statistically than KU this year.
All right. Well, they've given up 20 points in about a half to Oklahoma State also today, which is quite an accomplishment. Appreciate Nick Springer for hopping on to help us get this done. Everybody, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I should say that more when we do these lives, especially. Like and subscribe. All of that definitely really helps. And thank you to Holiday Distillery. Go get your Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon or your 360 vodka, and make sure to get all your home improvement needs done through elencohome.com. You just acted like you had something to say. You just told me, you called me off. What do you?
No, I didn't know. I was waiting for you. Baylor turnover margin this year is -4 total. They're a turnover happy team.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, great job by you in the comments. You were crushing it in the comments today.
7 turnovers in 4 games this year.
Excellent work all the way around, ladies and gentlemen. Just under an hour. We'll wrap it up. Thank you guys. Take care. And we will talk to you all very soon.